All right, everybody, welcome to Sat Chats, the Bitcoin podcast where we chat about sats. Sats are the smallest part of a Bitcoin, the same way pennies are the smallest part of a dollar. Whether you're a pre-coiner with no Bitcoin at all, but lots of questions, or a new Bitcoiner who wants to learn more and jump even farther down the rabbit hole, or maybe even a longtime Bitcoiner who needs help orange pilling your family and friends, we want to chat about sats with you. So if you're listening to this, head to satchats.com. You can schedule your slot to jump on the show with us. I'm your host, Stuart, Bitcoin Maxi, who wears prescription sunglasses to protect you and your loved ones from the magma level heat of my Bitcoin laser eyes.
And I'm Chris, the founder and CEO of Ithaca Hummus. And what's it called when you just slam a bunch of cash into Bitcoin all at once?
He's a Bitcoin smash buyer.
Yeah, that's me. That's me. So, yeah. I'm rocking here.
And we are here with Paul, who is a friend of a friend. He and Chris and I are going to be chatting today about whether or not Bitcoin is going to overtake the market cap of gold. And we're also going to be chatting about whether a handful of these Bitcoin mining companies are good investments. But to get started, we want to hear more about Paul. Paul, who are you? How old are you? Where do you live? What do you do? What's your relationship with money?
Absolutely. My name is Paul Blahnik. I'm in Chicago. I've worked in the finance industry for the last 10 years. I've been out of the board of trade for 10 years, teaching people how to trade stocks and options, commodities, futures, and of course some cryptocurrencies in there as well. I bought my first Bitcoin in 2014 for $580.
Whoa.
Sold too early.
Oh.
But I've been a big fan of cryptocurrencies and more a fan of the blockchain technology itself. I just think it's a beautiful technology.
So let's just focus in on that real quick. You said you bought your first Bitcoin at what price point?
580.
$580. And you bought one
Right.
Bitcoin for $580.
Yeah.
Good.
2014. My roommates were mining Bitcoin. Well, at the time they told me they were mining Bitcoins. They were actually mining Litecoins.
Yeah.
And so they were computer science majors, and we had graphics cards all around the living room on top of milk crates. And essentially they were running it off of like a Raspberry Pi. And I come home one day and I'm like, what's going on? What is this? And I had heard a little bit about Bitcoin, but I didn't really know what it was. And so I was asking them all about what this new technology, this new type of currency was. And they even had trouble explaining it to me super clearly. But at the end of the day, I knew they were really excited about it. And so it took me probably like a year to jump on board. So that was probably in 2013 and 14 I bought one.
Oh my gosh. So I guess that makes you the earliest buyer of Bitcoin on the show so far. You are guest number 9. And the record so far was Justin, who bought 0.18 Bitcoin in 2017 for about $1,800. And of course he sold too early and would have had $18,000 today. So you bought one Bitcoin. You didn't buy two, or you just bought one?
Just bought one. I said, I want one.
and when did you sell?
I really don't love talking about that, but I sold way too early, like 2016, well before it hit $5,000.
Yeah.
And I still have some of that Bitcoin, but not all of it.
Okay. So have you bought any more Bitcoin since then?
Oh, of course, yeah. I would say like 2017, 18, I started buying more. When everyone started talking about it, back in 2014, no one was talking about Bitcoin. No one really knew what it was. It didn't hit like the airwaves, CNBC, and everyone talking about the markets until like 2018, I'd say. That's when people really started talking about Bitcoin.
Okay. And what has been your strategy for buying Bitcoin? Are you dollar cost averaging over a regular schedule to create a normalized cost basis? I mean, you have the entire internet on display behind you. Are you trading it? You trying to get in at the bottom, right to the top, sell it, wait, buy it again? How are you doing it?
Well, for Bitcoin, I like to buy when it dips. When it pulls back, we had a little bit of a pullback today, right? Or last night, woke up and I think I saw it right at 100. But yeah, when it pulls back, I like to throw a few dollars in it. I do not like to sell Bitcoin anymore. I like to just hold it. I will absolutely trade mining companies and companies that, base their profits around Bitcoin and blockchain technologies because I'm an options trader.
Okay.
So I like trading options. But as far as Bitcoin's concerned, I just like to buy and hold.
Okay.
HODL, right?
HODL. Let's go, dude. People talk about having paper hands, right?
Yeah.
When they buy Bitcoin, sell it later. So they're like, no, I'm going to have diamond hands. I'm going to hold on and I'm going to hold on to it for a long time, right? And I'm thinking diamonds suck, right? They can make diamonds in a lab, man. I don't have diamond hands. I have Bitcoin hands. My hands are made out of Bitcoin, dude. Like my hands are even better than diamond hands. So what made you decide to, why do you no longer like to sell your Bitcoin? What made you change that?
It keeps going up. Probably don't want to sell something that keeps going up.
Keeps going up.
Full stop.
It keeps going up. It's going up forever, Laura.
Period.
Right? So, when you, I guess let's take a step back for a second, Paul. You talked about being in the financial sphere or industry for, I think, over 10 years, or how long have you been in the workplace?
Yeah, since 2015.
Okay. So, are you early 30s? What's your situation? 36. Okay. So 36 and, options trader, obviously more advanced than a lot of people out there. I can't handle that stuff. Where do you feel like you are in your life financially? When you think about where you want to be, where you think about where you're trying to go, are you on pace? Are you on track? Are you ahead of your goal? Are you behind your goal?
I think I'm a little behind.
Yeah.
You could always be better.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I would have started dumping a lot more money into a 401k much sooner than I did.
Okay. And why more money into a 401k instead of just more money into Bitcoin?
The tax advantages, I'd say, right? If you have a Roth, you can have a Roth 401k. Obviously, they have maximums in terms of the contributions. But buy and hold and don't even think about selling.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the best investment strategies ever. If you're selling, you're often going to get emotional and sell far too soon.
So are you saying that you put some tax advantaged funds into a Roth and then you use that to make your choices in the stock market?
My trading account, my retail trading account, is separate from my Roth 401k and my IRAs.
Uh-huh. And
so I don't trade a lot out of my IRA. I trade primarily out of a retail account.
Okay. So with your retirement portfolios, are you kind of just doing like a lazy man's portfolio where maybe it's like 40%, stock index, 30% bond index, or, are you grabbing like the Target 2050 fund? Like, what's your strategy there?
I'm tech heavy.
Okay.
And I'm predominantly in equities. Not a huge bond guy.
Yeah.
I think the days of, 40, 60, I think those days are dead and gone.
Bonds. They suck.
Not a fan.
They're so bad. Right?
I don't know a lot about them.
Yeah. So where are you trying to go in terms of your finances, right? Like, do you have an age by which you'd like to retire, or, you know, are you trying to, you know, what's your day job right now?
So just started my own company a couple months ago.
Oh, wow.
Trade Space Robot, where I'm a trading educator, and I send out live signals. I provide education and a live trading room so that you can have a community of people to trade alongside with.
Oh, wow. Okay. And how do we find you online, Paul?
Tradespacerobot.com.
Tradespacerobot.com. Okay. So that's for people who are interested in learning more about trading.
Stocks and options. That's right.
Stocks and options. And is that, you know, my understanding is that there are traders and then there are day traders, and they're almost like separate beasts. You know, is this for both of them, or for only one audience?
We are day trading and swing trading. So definition of day trading would be in and out in the same day. And then swing trading, by definition, is holding it at least overnight. And so if you buy today and sell tomorrow, there are no restrictions in terms of how much money you have to have in your account. Where if you're day trading out of a margin account, you have to have at least $25,000 in the account at all times. Otherwise, you only get 3 trades every week, or else you're flagged as a pattern day trader. If you have less than $25,000 in the account, you have to make sure it's set up as a cash account, and the margin is turned off altogether. Cash accounts are not subject to pattern day trade rules.
Pattern day trade rules. Holy smokes. I mean, how much time do you think you spend each day studying stocks and options and trading stocks and options and talking to people about stocks and options?
6 to 8 hours.
6 to 8 hours. Okay. And is that 5 days a week, or?
Yes, sir. 5 days a week.
Yeah. Okay.
And
yeah, hang on. We just lost every piece of numerical information that's on the internet.
That's the blockchain back
there. We go. This guy.
That's the blockchain.
That's what it looks
711 gigabytes.
Paul is looking like awesome. He's going to load us into the matrix there, man.
It's awesome.
So here's kind of my impression so far of what you do, Paul. It seems complicated.
No. You know, it's kind of like learning a new language, though. When you're speaking to someone about options that doesn't have any knowledge, a lot of it's right over their head. When you're talking about going long calls and puts, and you're buying the front month or a straddle, a strangle, a lot of people just don't understand what it is. But once you learn the lingo, the jargon, it's not too complicated. Options do have a lot more moving parts than futures or stocks or the basics of cryptocurrencies.
Yeah. So does your platform allow any exposure to Bitcoin or, you know, the cryptocurrencies?
We will absolutely trade options on cryptocurrency stocks. Riot, Marathon Digital, and now all of these ETFs. I think there's 10 Bitcoin ETFs now. Mm-hmm. So we can absolutely trade options on those.
Options on ETFs.
The issue is that some of them are very expensive.
Okay. So
yes.
When I was I don't know, I might have been 17 or 18, my dad got really focused on trading stocks, specifically trading options. And there was a guy here in North Carolina who was like teaching people about that. And there were these seminars, and, you know, he talked all about how he went from like working in a rubber factory to having like millions of dollars because of trading options. And my dad wanted that for himself, right? Because we live in a world where we earn money that is losing value from the moment you get it, right? I mean, we are being asked to stack up melting ice cubes, and there's almost no way to get ahead just by making money and saving money. There's no way. You cannot get ahead by just making money and saving money. So what do people do? They find ways to have their money make money. And that might be buying a house. That might be learning more about stocks and options, right? My brother got interested in that as well. And both of them were trading stuff. And dude, I could not get it. That the level of effort, at least for me, was too high. And, watching things, updating things, learning about companies or checking them out, earnings reports, etc. Like, I did not have that capacity. So I put the, little crappy stack of money that I had from working at the video game store at the mall into Google. And I just left it there. And by the time my wife and I were ready to buy a house, I sold that and it was the down payment on my home.
Nice.
So I literally did nothing, right? And that kind of matches what I'm capable of doing, right? I don't have what it takes to be agile. Like, my style is to, like you said, commit to something and then just hang in there longer than anyone else. So, for me, when I think about how I'm going to be building wealth, it's just to buy Bitcoin and hold Bitcoin.
I believe you mentioned you bought a house in 2014 for around $200,000.
Yeah.
You can't live inside your Google stock.
Yeah.
Which has done better?
The house or Google?
Google's. Right.
I don't know. I mean, the house is up 220% in fiat terms over the past 10 years. So did Google go up 220% over the past 10 years?
I think so.
Yeah. Do you think it's gone up more?
Yeah.
Right. But did my house really go up 220%? Did Google really go up 220+%?
Yes.
From my perspective, my house went down 99%.
In terms of its relation to Bitcoin.
Yeah, in Bitcoin terms, it sucks.
How about when you value it in gold?
When I value it in gold, my house is basically the same amount as it was 10 years ago. So in fiat terms, it's gone up 2.2x. In gold, it's done nothing. And in Bitcoin,
it's done better in fiat than gold. That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, right? But the fiat buys less.
In relation to the price of the house, gold has done just about the same as the price of the home.
Well, here's another way to think about it. On a fiat standard, you need 220% more dollars to buy the same house. So it has gotten much more expensive. On a gold standard, you can buy my house for the same amount of gold that you could have bought it for 10 years ago. So it's the same. But on a Bitcoin standard, you need 99% less Bitcoin to buy the same house. So my house has gotten more expensive in fiat terms. It's stayed the same in gold terms, and it is ridiculously cheap in Bitcoin terms. Ridiculously cheap.
The question becomes, do you believe that Bitcoin will go up at that rate, which is alarming, now that way more people know about it than they did in 2014? Will that trend continue at the same pace?
Yeah. 100%.
Yes.
Yeah. And so this might be a good segue to one of the questions that you gave us, right, before coming on the show, which was, what was your question about gold?
Do you believe that the market cap of Bitcoin will flip the market cap of gold? Will surpass it?
Right. Okay. And the answer is yes, 100%. Okay.
Okay.
100 million billion %. Of course it will. And
right.
And here's why. I think it's really important to point out to our listeners that trading stocks, trading options, figuring out how to make money with your money is really a great idea. And for people who aren't ready to strap on a pair of prescription sunglasses at all times for your safety, they want to diversify. Maybe they have a couple of Bitcoin, maybe they have some stocks and options. They should head to your website and learn more, right? Because there's a lot to figure out
Absolutely.
there. And it's important for us to point out there's nothing wrong with trying to make money with your money. But my focus is on the base layer, which is money. Which money are you using, right? Like everybody just starts with these slips of paper that are issued by your friendly local nation state. And they're like, this is money. And it's all we've ever known. This is money. You have these gold bugs for decades have said, hey guys, this paper is stupid. You should be using gold as money because gold keeps its value. The fact that you can buy my house with the same amount of gold today that you could 10 years ago means that gold has kept its value in relation to the home. The fact that you need 220% more dollars means that the dollar has gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. So my focus is on what is good money, right? What makes for a good money? And you've listened to a couple of these episodes by now. I'm sure you're familiar. The first one is you need to be able to store your value in it. You need to be able to exchange it for goods and services. And you need to be able to figure out how much stuff costs in terms of that money, right?
Right.
So is paper a good money? Well, I mean, you can figure out how much everything costs. It's $200,000. It's $440,000. You can trade it in for stuff. This coffee's $7. Some Ithaca hummus is
$5.99.
$5.99.
Great price.
Right? But you can't store your value because if I were to sell my house, I couldn't even buy my own house back. Because I might get the money from it, but I don't own the full house. I only own part of it, right? There's a mortgage. If I took that money and tried to get a down payment, I could do that. But the terms of the loan today, the monthly payment would be too high for me, right? So the paper isn't a good store of money. Gold's pretty good. It keeps its value. You can say this is, hey, here's a gold coin in exchange for your horse. I don't know. And this thing's worth 14 ounces of gold. But here's the problem. I was in Lexington, Kentucky, in October of last year to go pay a visit to my top client at the time, right? I used to be in cybersecurity sales. So there's a big old company in Lexington and I sold them some stuff. So I went out there to see them. And I had some time to kill the evening before we were going to go to the racetrack together. There's a big racetrack out there. And twice a year, they race all these horses. And it's a whole big deal. But I had some time to kill the night before. What I wanted to do was just sit in my hotel room and isolate because I love being alone. But I got to fight against that. So I asked Chappie what I could do. Chat GPT. I'm like, yo, Chappie, I'm in Lexington. What can I do tonight? And she pointed out that there was going to be a lecture nearby on the Great Kentucky Hoard. Have y'all heard about the Great Kentucky Hoard?
Kentucky Hoard? No, I haven't.
Me either.
So the Great Kentucky Hoard, I hadn't heard about it either. There was like a nearby civic center that was attached to a little park in the northern part of Lexington. I took an Uber to the park. He dropped me off in the wrong area. He dropped me off in the neighborhood on the back side of the park. So I ended up having to walk 30 minutes in this gigantic U shape to get out of the neighborhood on some random quarries and then finally to the park. There was a huge tree there that was like over 100 years old. It was actually a tree when the original settlers came to Lexington and said, this is a nice area. We're gonna come back later and build a a town here. After I had checked that out, I went to this lecture, and there was a gold bug there. And you're familiar with gold bugs. They love gold.
Yeah.
Some guy, a little earlier in time, I don't know if it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or what, but he was metal detecting on a farm somewhere in Kentucky, and he found a hoard of gold. He found like 800 pieces of gold from the Civil War era, just kind of like by a stream or something. They were covered in mud, and he knew that he had found something good. So he collected all this dirty gold and went straight to this gold bug who was like a renowned expert, and he had written several books on gold and just happened to also live in Kentucky. This gold bug took a look at this gold, and it was, all muddy and jacked up. And he was like, okay, stop what you're doing. First things first, we're going to contact the lawyer. We're going to make sure that the lawyer knows that this is your gold. Next, we're going to get a bunch of insurance for this gold. We're going to buy a bunch of insurance for this gold. Then you and I are going to jump on a plane. We are going to physically carry this gold ourselves on our person at all times to Florida. We're going to fly to Florida, and we're going to take this gold to a professional grader of gold coins. That company is going to clean the gold. They're going to grade the gold, right? Like what quality of coin is this gold? And they're going to estimate the value of the gold. Dude, that's a lot of work, right? I mean, a
lot of reward. Yeah. And he ended, the value of these coins ended up being over $1 million, by the way. And this or $4 million or something. It was worth a ton. But one thing that was interesting was the gold bug explained to the guy who found the gold that it was so lucky that the guy did not clean the gold coins himself. Because if he had taken one of these coins, it turned out these coins were rare coins from during the Civil War. They had been minted during the Civil War. Like the year was between 1861 and 1865. Only a certain number of gold coins were minted during the Civil War. And there was one gold minting site in the South that was only quasi-operational because the Confederacy took it over or whatever. And that's even rarer than the ones that were minted in Philadelphia. There's collectability. If he had taken a toothbrush and tried to clean off, wait, what do I got here, guys? He would have scraped the surface of the gold coin, even the tiniest bit. Even the tiniest hairline compromise of that gold would take that gold coin from being worth something like $150,000 to being worth $50,000. Can you believe that? So it was worth well beyond its gold weight. The antique value of the coin was worth more than the gold weight.
Correct, because of the collectability of the coin. But there's so much going on here. Number one, it blew my mind to calculate the fact that what the guy had hidden was in the Civil War era, he had only hid a little bit of money. The gold coins weren't really this gold coin was worth $20 US. But I took the weight of the gold that he buried in the Civil War, calculated its value in just raw terms today, and was able to realize that the purchasing power of the US dollar since the Civil War has gone down 99%. 99%, right?
Wages have increased.
Wages have increased, right. And that's I just read a book, Paul, called 40 Centuries of Wage and Price Controls, and they absolutely exploded my mind explaining how wage increases coupled with inflation actually makes your workers cheaper over time. But staying focused on gold here, if you and I found a USB stick on a farm in Kentucky that had one Bitcoin on it, ain't nobody got to get a lawyer. Ain't nobody got to get no insurance. Ain't nobody got to transport that super privado style for someone to grade. And if I toothbrush the outside of the USB stick, the value of my Bitcoin is still one Bitcoin. So to answer your question, one of the reasons why I think Bitcoin will eat gold is because even though gold is better than paper, Bitcoin is better than gold.
Better money.
It's better money.
When I think about this question, I think about the properties of money, right? Salability across time, salability across space, and salability across scales, right? So time and scales, I think there's an argument for time, right? Like gold has good salability over time. It holds its value. Salability across scales, can I break it up into pieces and scale up and down the value of gold that I own? You can. It's not as easy as US dollars, for example, or Bitcoin. But where it really gets interesting is salability across space.
Mm-hmm.
I can't pick up 100 pounds of gold and easily transport it across the country to go buy something that I want. But I can send Bitcoin like that.
Like that.
So that's why I believe Bitcoin is just better money. It's the best money. It's the hardest money ever created, ever. It's the first global currency that we've ever seen. And it's been on an adoption trend that makes me a believer personally.
Do you guys know who Max Kaiser is?
Yes.
No.
He has a famous quote where he says, you can walk through an airport naked, and as long as you have your seed phrase in your head, you can take all of your money with you wherever you want in the world.
Yeah.
Right? If you have more than $10,000, you can't fly internationally without declaring it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And gold's heavy.
Gold's heavy.
And gold maxis would say, buy as much gold as you can afford and as much silver as you can carry. You're probably not going to be able to buy so much gold that you can't carry it. Most people don't have that much money. The issue with Bitcoin is that you're relying on the internet. You need the internet.
Yeah.
Heaven forbid anything catastrophic happens. I love that show, Doomsday Preppers. I think it's a lot of fun.
It is.
And they all have these different reasons for being doomsday preppers. But heaven forbid something, diabolical happens where the internet goes down. You can't feed your family with Bitcoin if you don't have the internet. You will likely be able to take your gold to somebody and trade it to them for a loaf of bread.
Are you talking about like a global outage of the internet?
Possibly.
Yeah. I
don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think that's going to happen. And
very unlikely.
And if it's not global, then the 21,000 nodes that are running the blockchain make Bitcoin resistant to that risk, right? Like if the internet is shut down in the United States, for example, there are still nodes that are active on other parts of the planet that will keep the blockchain running, and therefore your Bitcoin is still valuable, right? Holds its value.
Yeah, I think relying on the internet, I mean, it's okay. It's likely going to work, right? And if we do have a catastrophic situation, then other forms of money will likely be better, right? Like gold, like silver. I think it would probably take a while for people to calm down. I think for a while they'd be like, I don't want your gold, I want your silver. I'm just going to kill you because we're all freaking out and I'm hungry. So it would probably take a while. I don't think you would immediately snap back to gold and silver. You would probably need to ride out there would be some kind of purge. There would be some kind of massive amount of chaos there. I don't think nation state slips of paper would work either in that situation, right?
You'd be looking at things like ammunition and firearms.
Yeah.
Suddenly those spike. But what's interesting about Bitcoin and gold and any of these things is that they're all backed, not necessarily backed. But when I talk to you about the value of them, you tell me how many US dollars they're worth. right? And so if something happens to America and America falls, Bitcoin crumbles.
No,
For sure.
definitely not.
Right down the tubes. Oh, yeah. Because the US dollar is what all of the other dollars are based on.
Right.
They all go through the US dollar. So if you're going to trade the Australian dollar for Canadian dollars, most of that is done at an exchange here in the United States, and it goes through the banks, right? The banks control it, and it's exchanged through the US dollar, as far as I'm aware. I'm not a big Forex guy.
Yeah.
But the US dollar is the most important, in my opinion.
So you're wrong. And here's why. You're still thinking in dollar terms. And the only thing that any of us know is dollars. And the only thing that any of us know is nation states. Not anyone has any idea what it means to live underneath a Roman proconsul. Nobody today has any idea what that form of government was like. Not a single person has any idea what it was like to be underneath Hammurabi or Diocletian, right? Or even Louis XIV. Nobody has any idea. All we know is a nation state. All we know is the dollar. And yes, the world has been dollarized. But to your point, if the doomsday preppers are right, and one of my favorite episodes was when somebody, I think like in Montana, believed that Mount St. Helens was going to explode again.
Right.
Does gold go to zero?
Goes down a lot.
It goes down a lot in terms of what?
It's relation to the US dollar.
Yeah. But who cares? Because
everybody.
What I care about with my gold coin is not how many dollars I can get, but how much food can I get for this gold coin? How much protection can I get for this gold coin? You're still filtering everything through a slip of paper versus its ability to buy real world services and goods.
So gold's number one utility is jewelry. It's its predominant use. It's used for jewelry. It has all these other use cases. Same with silver. But that's not really how we use it. We use it as a store of value, right? An ounce is like $2,700. It's very close to all-time highs. Silver, we've got a ways to go before all-time highs. Bitcoin, we're right at all-time high. We're very close. But if I can't exchange it for US dollars, I have no interest in it. The only thing I want is US dollars. If I had $1 billion in cash, I wouldn't be too concerned about the prices of all these different commodities, because now I have enough money that even that 5% interest can feed my family for generations. So I don't have to really look for other stores of value, because the value of cash earning 5% yearly, compounding year over year, is plenty.
Yeah. So you're still in the fiat matrix, right?
I think we all are.
We kind of, maybe. You know who isn't is your boy down there in El Salvador, Max Kaiser. He's outside, right? So think about currencies before slips of paper. You know? Wampum, glass beads, yap stones, gold, silver, right? Like somebody during that age was not thinking about their gold coins in terms of nation state slips of paper like you are. They were thinking about their gold coins in terms of their gold coins.
Or what can I exchange these for?
Right. What is this? What does this form of money get me?
Sure, but what does 1 ounce of gold buy you? $2,700 worth of stuff.
Right. But how much is $2,700 going to get you 10 years from now? Is it still going to get you $2,700 worth of stuff? Or is it going to get you $1,500 worth of stuff?
Correct. Right. Yeah. Inflation is a problem, and that's why you want to put your money in things that are disinflationary.
Right.
Absolutely.
So here's where I kind of went through this as well, Paul. When I was teaching myself about Bitcoin last year, there were many different pieces to that puzzle, right? But I got to a certain point in my learning where I was like, you know what? I have a gold coin in my house. This gold coin was worth $500 when it was given to me in 2019. Now it's worth $620 in 2024. And that was an increase of, I don't know, 20 some odd plus percent in value. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. But then I looked at the value of Bitcoin in 2019, the value of Bitcoin in 2024, and it had gone up. I don't even know how much, a ton. I think that $500, if I had put it into Bitcoin, would be worth like $5,000 or more. And I was like, oh my God, this gold coin is a coin. This gold coin sucks. So I'm gonna buy Bitcoin with this gold coin. I contacted 3 gold bugs in Raleigh. The guy that I liked, I went out to see him. He opened up his shop and we talked about gold. We talked about silver. We talked about Bitcoin. And I was still thinking about everything in dollar terms at that point. I'm going to buy Bitcoin with my dollars. And then later on, it's going to be worth more dollars. And then I'm going to sell that Bitcoin and I'm going to have dollars and I'm going to buy stuff with it. And I'm going to love that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he explained to me, he pulled out a silver coin and he said, hey, man, in the 1960s, when I was a kid, this exact silver coin would buy me a candy bar. And that candy bar was 20 cents.
And it was good.
And I'm sure it was good. Yeah. Probably had less forever chemicals in it.
Red number 5, whatever
The
that
PFAS, the PFAS were very low. So, and he said, but check this out. He's like, this silver coin, this same silver coin, I can go buy today in 2024, the same exact candy bar. But the candy bar is $2.
Interesting.
And I said, oh, I guess the value of your silver went up. And he said, no, this is the same silver coin it was in the 60s. And that's the same candy bar it was in the 60s. Nothing about the value of this candy bar has changed. Nothing about the value of this silver has changed. What has changed is this garbage paper that's issued to us by the nation state. And so then he took my gold coin, he weighed it out, he verified it, he said, okay, I'll pay you the market rate. Here's $620. And he took all these 20s and he counted out $620 worth of $20 bills. And I said, man, you blew my mind because now you're helping me see in terms of not the dollar. You're helping me to realize that other currencies are valuable and that they think things haven't changed in the world. What's changed are these dollars. And he was like, yeah, man, appreciate you talking to me about Bitcoin. Maybe I'll check it out. Maybe I want some Bitcoin. I know I want gold and silver. And then he pointed at the slips of paper and he's like, all I know is I don't want whatever that is.
Diversify is what I would say. I don't think it's a good idea to put all of your money into Bitcoin, and I don't think it's a good idea to have all of your money in gold. I like P500 because it's 500 different stocks. It's not all in NVIDIA. It's not all in Apple. It's diversified. And when one of those companies underperforms, it's removed from the S&P 500 and replaced with the next best performing. I'm not a financial advisor, but that's what a lot of them would say is you want to diversify.
Yeah, and we'll disclaim everything at the end of the episode. It'll be fine, but we can share what we really feel right now. And what I feel is, no, dude. For me, the only thing I need to do is buy Bitcoin. Sell this gold coin, buy Bitcoin. Sell this stock, buy Bitcoin. Sell that stock, buy Bitcoin. Sell my collectible cards, buy Bitcoin. I did a yard sale and was like, does anybody want any of this stuff? I took that money, I bought Bitcoin, right? I am with the Chad Michael Saylor when it comes to, hey, this is the best. This is the best, right? It's the best store of value. the best medium of exchange, the best unit of account. It's pristine. It's blah, 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 right? And the returns on Bitcoin over the past 16 years have been better than anything else.
NVIDIA, I believe, outpaced it.
Maybe.
I think that's true. Yeah.
For a short period of time or over the entire 16-year period?
Over 16 years, I believe.
Okay. And how long until NVIDIA doesn't outperform Bitcoin?
They just got crushed today. So if you've looked at the markets, things are down. There's this Chinese company that has come out and said that they have introduced something that is very comparable with OpenAI for a very small fraction of the cost.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And NVIDIA went down like 11%.
Sure. And what happens if Jensen dies?
Yeah.
You know, so and this is a good way to address your second question that you had, right? Which was there were two specific mining companies that you mentioned, and you were wondering whether they were good investments. What were the names of those companies?
Riot Blockchain and Marathon Digital.
Riot Blockchain and Marathon Digital.
RIOT and MARA are the ticker symbols.
Yeah. Are they good investments? And my answer is, compared to Bitcoin, no, right? What's better than buying Bitcoin and holding Bitcoin? I don't have to keep up with the company. I don't have to watch its earnings reports. I don't have to wonder if the CEO ends up going off a cliff mentally or physically. I don't have to worry about a competitor rolling up and being like, by the way, we're better Bitcoin for less. I
agree.
You have built on top of the currency to a point where you're working with stocks and companies and options and stuff. And that works for some people, and that's great. I'm just chilling on the base layer. I just have adopted what I feel is the best money, and all I want to do is earn money and save money. I'm just using Bitcoin as money instead of dollars. So I want to be clear that investing and being interested in stocks and options and all the different financial instruments that are out there is fine. But I just want to make sure that you, Paul, are focusing on the base layer, which is, okay, well, what money am I using? Am I on a fiat standard? Am I on a gold standard? Am I on a Bitcoin standard? And once you have the right money, then you're free to do whatever you want on top of that.
So what's interesting about Bitcoin is that it's mined by solving code, right? You're solving blocks of code. What does it take to solve a block of code?
Energy.
So it's backed by energy prices, right? And that's why they have to pay people to mine and pay people to, do all the computing, is because it takes energy.
Yep.
And depending on if you live somewhere near a power plant or a coal plant, your energy costs are going to fluctuate. But you have to pay people for that energy consumption. Otherwise, they have no interest in keeping up your blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
You have to pay them.
Right.
And you have to pay them in relation cost of that energy, which in the United States based on US dollars.
Yeah. And it's okay that US dollars are still a thing. It doesn't make US dollars the top dog. It just means that for now we use a bunch of
I would
dollars.
disagree. I think they are.
How long do you think the US dollar is going to be the top dog, Paul?
Well, my goodness, until the end of my lifetime, certainly.
So do you like that things get more expensive all the time for no damn reason?
Of course not. I don't like inflation, and I think the Fed is a huge problem.
Uh-huh.
I think the fact that they can print, they don't even have to print it anymore, right? They just have to click a button to create more of it.
Right.
That's a problem.
Yeah. What do you
It
think?
gets us into wars we can't afford.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
It delivers people, these checks like in 2020 during the pandemic that they would never have been able to create through taxes alone.
Yeah.
Just because they can print it. They can just create it.
Yeah.
And it's both a part of the government and its own, business, from what I understand.
The Fed, yeah.
The Fed?
Dude.
Right? The central bank?
Right.
It's a problem.
So what do you think the solution to that is? I mean, I'm generally curious. I would love to hear your thoughts.
When they took us off the gold standard, it got out of control very quick. The solution, I'm not certain, but it does seem like part of it has to do with the budget and the fact that, the Pentagon has failed every audit for the last, 10 or 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't even care about a budget. Money doesn't matter. They can just keep printing it. They can just keep making more. They're not held accountable.
Uh-huh.
It seems like if we could clean up some of that, we'd be on the right track.
Okay.
You think a better budget?
Budget is definitely one of the biggest concerns that I have.
See, I think that can stop the bleeding, but I don't know that that's ever going to help us dig out of the hole that we're in. That's my concern.
We can barely pay the interest.
Right.
I think the interest was more than the entire defense budget this past year.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. First time that's happened.
Yeah.
2024.
But we will pay the interest. We do pay it. And so Japan will keep buying our debt. All these countries like our debt because we always pay on it.
So, but if we don't know what the answer to the out of control spending and the risk of a debased dollar is, we don't know what that answer is. What else can we do?
I don't know the answer.
Right.
Yeah. So if you feel the US dollar is the top dog,
Seems to be.
but printer doesn't even go burr anymore, allegedly button just goes click. Like, dude, holy smokes. In order for your dollar to quit melting away while it's just in your accounts waiting to be traded, etc., you would need the government to start collecting enough taxes to fully fund a more modest budget. And you would allegedly need them to reduce the amount of paper available down to the actual productivity of the economy. And then you would also need to deal with these ridiculously huge interest payments that are going out to who even know? I mean, Japan, et cetera, whatever, right? So what is the likelihood that your friendly local nation state is going to say, you know what? We did all this work to dollarize the entire world and make everyone use our random slips of paper so that we could print more and suck away the productivity of the entire world little by little to fund our own existence. Let's stop doing that.
Yeah.
What are the chances of that?
Very low.
Very low.
A lot of politicians that make a lot of money that have no interest in stopping this machine.
Yeah. Yeah. If I've built a machine that allows me to let you work and then I get paid, I don't see myself stopping that anytime soon. So, I think gold bugs prefer gold because you can't make gold. You have to go find it.
Right. They say that we could find, so they know roughly how much gold is on the earth just by calculating how much we've found by mining it. The Winklevoss twins said something interesting. By the way, they own like 1% to 2% of Bitcoin.
Right.
If we start mining asteroids, or if we start mining on Mars, the value of gold will very likely decrease.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there's probably more gold out there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But is there more than 21 million Bitcoin?
No, sir.
No. No matter how hard you try.
I like something
Who do
you
you
said
think
the other day.
Satoshi is?
Let's talk about that quickly.
I'm sorry, Chris.
Who do we think Satoshi is? Dude, I mean, I looked into this a little bit when I was curious, like, hey, who is Satoshi? And some people thought it might be Hal. There's a recent documentary that decided it was some young kid, and the poor dude had to like fully go into hiding after because people are like, oh, we're going to kill you, bro, and get your million. He's like, I'm literally not Satoshi, guys. My cousin feels like Satoshi Nakamoto is a fellow whose name is Lynn Sassaman. And he was like a cypherpunk type guy. But I think he had mental health issues and eventually killed himself or something like that. So for me, it's not important who Satoshi is, because Bitcoin is now bigger than even he could do something about. And it's just a nice, clean, decentralized program that's, chugging away no matter what happens and no matter who Satoshi is, right? It's just going to keep going, and we can rely on it, right? I can't rely on nation state paper because printer goes burr and now button goes click. I can't rely on gold because as soon as we go to the moon and Mars, etc., we're going to find a whole bunch more, and that supply will increase, and then dang, my share has gone down. I can rely on Bitcoin.
I like Bitcoin. I'm wearing my Bitcoin chain.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sweet.
Nice.
That is a real Bitcoin.
Ah, nice.
No, of course not. But I love Bitcoin. It's beautiful. The white paper reads like poetry.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. I don't fully understand it.
Yeah.
I'm not a developer. I'm not a programmer. But it seems to make sense that you have this technology that can verify information across multiple parties without a third party needing to be present, right? And so what's that good for? Well, you no longer have to write on a $100 bill with a marker to make sure it's real. If I send you $100 in Bitcoin, it's verified on the blockchain.
Yep.
Things like identification can be verified on blockchain. You saw the NFTs, right? So you can verify collectibles and artwork. And that was, of course, a bubble. But it doesn't take away from the beauty of what the blockchain is, which is it's a technology that can verify information without, needing a bouncer to check my ID. It could be done on a blockchain.
So that's beautiful. And right there at that high note where you're advocating for Bitcoin, let's make you an offer, right? There is so much to Bitcoin that we're not going to be able to cover it in a single conversation, right? But what we've been able to talk about today is you, Paul, right? Mid-30s financial guy, starting your own company. Hit us with that.
By the way.
Yeah, hit us with that website one more time.
TradeSpaceRobot.com.
TradeSpaceRobot.com, and we'll be sure to put that in the show notes for people who are interested in the big wide world of trading stocks and options. We talked about the fact that you're a little bit behind in your financial goals, but you could always do better. And I think someone with as much interest in this area as you is going to turn out just fine. What I wanted to impress on you today, Paul, was the fact that Bitcoin is better than paper. Bitcoin is better than gold. And Bitcoin is better than investing in any kind of mining company, right? For the people who are out there today who are like me and they only have enough time to give glory to the Old Norse gods, take care of their dadgum family and get them off to school, and talk to homies like Paul all day about Bitcoin, I only have time to earn money and save money. For someone like me, Bitcoin is the best money to choose when we're talking about earning money and saving money. So, I just want to ask you very quickly how you feel about today's conversation, what you may have learned or what was unexpected, or if something changed.
I think the story that you told about the guy finding all that gold was incredibly interesting. And my opinion on Bitcoin hasn't changed. I love Bitcoin. I hold a lot of Bitcoin. I will always diversify.
Okay. So let's test then. Let's make this offer here to you.
All right, Paul. So at the end of every show, we like to offer compensation to each of our guests in the form of either US dollar or Bitcoin. So I will show you, as I always do, the $50 bill, which is option one. Okay. Looking nice. This used to be 2 20s and a 10, but I was finally able to find a 50. That was not easy.
We got a nice Ulysses S. Grant there for you.
There it is. Okay. And since you're not in the studio, we'll mail it to you, or we'll have to figure out how to get it to you. It won't be as easy as the Bitcoin. But Bitcoin, okay, pulled up the Clark Moody dashboard today, right now. It's trading at 990 sats per dollar. So you could probably do this in your head, but I can't. So 990 times 50 for $50 is
44500.
49.
Oh, I was off.
500. And that's your choice. 49,500 Satoshis.
Yeah. So 50 units of nation state paper that will likely buy you $20 worth of stuff later, or almost.
By the time I get it.
Almost. It's going to be melting. We're going to have to put it in a Ziploc bag into an envelope to send it to you, just so it doesn't get the envelope wet while it's melting on its way over to you. $50 that will likely get you $20 worth of stuff later, or 49,500 sats, which will likely buy you more than $50 worth of stuff later.
And by the way, just for quick transparency, so we started doing interviews 2 weeks ago. We are still setting up our Lightning Network so that we can zap these sats out to the first guest, you, unfortunately. But what's really interesting is that our first guest got like 51 or 52,000 sats. Now it's already down to 49.
I think it was 54,000 sats was our first episode.
So this will hold its value while we're getting our shit together to send it to you. The $50 won't. But anyway, that's this is your choice. So Paul, what's it going to be?
Cash is king. Send me that $50 bill.
Holy smokes.
First one.
Our very first chooser of cash. So we were 8-0, perfect record.
Boys.
And Paul has taken us to 8-1. We're just going to have to try to keep it there, man.
Yeah.
We're going to have to hold the line at 1. Cash is king.
Yeah.
Whoo.
Yep.
Fascinating business, Paul, that you would appreciate Bitcoin, but then take the cash. That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, thank you for coming on the show, Paul.
Thank you, guys.
We do ask each of our guests if they'd be willing to come back in 9 months and give us an update, typically on their Bitcoin baby, but you're going to have to give us an update on your Ulysses S. Grant baby. Okay. Your cash
I think it'd
baby.
be fun to trade it, see what I could do with it.
Now that is fascinating.
Idea.
Okay.
Great
So let's
idea.
do this. Let's challenge you, Paul. You'll take that $50, okay, and you'll trade it for the next 9 months.
Great
And when
idea.
you come back on the show, we'll see how much money we'll see how much paper you've made with your paper. And then we'll also calculate the Bitcoin from now to then and see who outperformed who.
I love that.
Holy smokes.
Great idea, Paul.
Would you be willing to do that?
Absolutely.
Okay, Paul, wow. You are the man. TradeSpaceRobot.com. Did I get that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, everybody. Head to TradeSpaceRobot.com to check out Paul's brand new business on trading stocks, trading options, learning about them, and diving into a bit of a community online, it sounds like, where you can get together and chat about cash. He's going to start his new podcast called Cash Chats, and we're going to be chatting about sats. He's going to be chatting about cash. It's going to be really beautiful.
It was a pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Paul. Bye-bye.
See you later.
Sat Chats is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. Our guests' views are their own.